Hi guys, thanks so much for joining me for the Daily Dreamer. I'm just going to get started on this one because this one was an interesting one. Okay, so I wake up, come to, and I am at a playground that is not familiar to me. But I had this feeling that I am not there for me, I'm there for someone else. When I come to, there is a bed and there is a gentleman sitting on the bed. And I can sense that he is in turmoil. So I ask him some questions. I'm not getting any responses from him. So I'm standing in the back of him. And as I start to come around, I see around me like this world that is just going around. I mean, it's just going on. It's doing its thing and it's happening. People are doing daily activities. He, however, sits on this bed, motionless, still just not responsive at all. So when I go around to ask him if he needs help, because I'm not getting any response, I happen to see him staring in front. And so I look at where he's staring. It is a mirror. And when I look into that mirror, I see just nothing but pure evil. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I don't look at the mirror. I look back at him. And I notice something off about him. So I go to kneel in front of him to ask, what can I do to help you? Because he's just staring into this mirror. And as I go to kneel down to ask him, I put my hands on his knees, and at that point, he just crumbles into dust. Oh my gosh, what kind of a dream was that? I was whisked back to consciousness at that point. So I'll tell you, that was an odd dream for sure. So what came up for me today, folks? Besides my cat. This is Fritz. You'll probably be seeing him a lot now because he seemed to have manifested himself on our doorstep. Anyways, nonetheless, Fritz, what do you think I came up with? We came up with fear, laziness, evil. So let's discuss that today, shall we? We all know how important it is that we need to sit and face and acceptance of ourselves and our feelings, our convictions, our attitude, and our beliefs that are no longer serving us. And unless this awareness is actually cultivated, then guess what? It's going to be impossible for you to free the most innermost core of your being. You're going to forever be plagued with negative feelings and guilt. And you're going to keep recreating this over and over. And that's not healthy for you. How much of us are actually aware of what is really going on inside of us? I mean, truly aware. As opposed to all those lovely superficial explanations that we always so readily give. How many of you are actually willing to sit with all of these destructible, negative, cruel, hostile, selfish feelings towards yourself? I mean, even if you're just beginning for those 5 minutes a day to acknowledge them and these negative defenses, folks, it's going to do wonders for you. And guess why? Because it's going to allow you to change your entire position about yourself into a more positive life. You're no longer going to have to defend your position. You're no longer going to be required of the fact that you have to be right all the time because you already know. Your ability to actually own up to being this vulnerable, irrational, wrong, needy, defenseless, weak, unhappy person is just going to allow you to become a more fulfilled individual. It actually shows that you have a stronger need to want to become more right as opposed to self-righteous. It's going to show that you have a more desire to be leading a more fulfilled and independent life. The acceptance of your hate is going to allow you to be able to love more. The acceptance of your weakness is going to show you that you really just want to become stronger, and you will. And the acceptance of your actual pain, of what's going on inside here, is only going to allow you to become more blissful in your life. So what is evil? Well, evil is the denial of your vulnerabilities. It is the shame of feeling helpless. It is the feeling of feeling unloved. I mean, none of us like to feel this. So in turn, then, we create this vibe that goes within us, and it starts to create an evil, destructive force against ourselves. Evil is the defense that we have against our own suffering, the denial of our own vulnerabilities. And all of this does is lead to more suffering, because it more suffering and confusion for ourselves, because we're no longer able to connect with the feelings that are our own innermost center core being. Our feelings are choked off. Once we're able to start acknowledging this, we can start sitting and we can deal with it. We can start letting them go. If we let them go and we forgive ourselves and we let the guilt go, we're able to release all of that. It's a whole new world, folks. I mean, you just got to sit for 5 minutes. That's all it is. Because then you're able to let all of those accumulated feelings, because that's what we do. Every time that we deny ourselves of these feelings, all we're doing is causing ourselves to relive this experience over and over and over. Thus creating more and more trauma for ourselves, because we're not dealing with them. We're just reliving it over and over. And what happens when that happens? Now it causes us to become bitter and angry and lazy. So let's talk about laziness. Laziness has a direct connection, a very intimate connection between our feelings that have not been fully dealt with. Laziness is a manifestation of apathy, stagnation, and paralysis. And we all know what happens when we get paralyzed. It's overwhelming, folks. The result of that stagnant energy is lack of energy for our soul substance. That stagnant soul substance is a result of feelings that have not been fully expressed or dealt with. If you're aware of it, though, you can change it back around to a positive experience. You can actually use it as a future barricade towards future trauma for ourselves. We're not going to be afraid any longer to deal with these feelings, because we're able to confront them, as opposed to just putting them aside and just keep compounding them. We can lower that threshold of defending our position in the world out there, because we have an intimate understanding of who we are. We don't need to defend ourselves. We can lower the threshold of defending against our deep experiences, which have been poisonous, from not being released. Laziness is a protection against the movement of the soul, in which it will always still bring up the feelings you think you can keep going on to avoid. The real harm lies in this. It's the fear of experiencing the fear. If you ignore and keep piling up your pain because you're denying yourself these expressions of these deep-rooted issues, then guess what's going to happen? There's going to be a secondary pain, and it's going to become bitter, twisted, and unbearable. If you accept and feel your pain, there is a dissolving process that happens almost automatically and immediately. And those of you who have become more aware of the power that you hold from generating within yourself or sitting for 5 minutes, you've learned that there is an inner guidance and a right of balance to measure for yourself that you apply to your everyday living. But first, the first step is you have to make a commitment to go into yourself and not around yourself. That's what we always do. And we always do that. There has to be a dedication to yourself, the most important thing that matters. Folks, we got to take some time, and we need to learn to sit, and we need to deal with these roots that are causing us all of our pains, our worries, our sadness, our negative issues that are being projected out there. Your fear is not worth the stagnation that you feel. It's just not doing you any good. So, at what point, folks, do we just sit? When you find yourself stagnating, lazy, passive, inert, and when you have the desire to do nothing, it's because there are those feelings in which you have created this psychic toxicity, because you refuse to acknowledge your feelings. As a result, people are going to find themselves more paralyzed. Their actions are going to become ineffectual. They will see nothing but obstruction to their goals and their desires. You're going to find closed doors as a result of no one wanting or needing your talents because, well, who wants them? You know, you're so bitter and angry, you can't even see your own talents, let alone expect someone else to see them. Laziness, it manifests itself into paralysis, folks. We need to get out of that mindset. Take a moment. Also, there's a lack of creativity now as a result of this paralysis and this laziness. It's a general side effect. There's just nothing there. In this one, people actually use the excuse, well, it must be the seasons, or it's everybody else's energy, or I'm just reflecting what's going on out there. No, it's a stagnation of your soul, guys, on the inner state of you. You know, the truth is that there's a sense of futility or confusion about who you are in this world and what your role is. You know, it engulfs you because you're living through these feelings that you've harbored, and you keep on harboring themselves because you continuously lie to yourself. It's that avoiding the feelings because you think that it's going to do you better off if you just avoid them and not deal with them. But in actuality, it's the exact opposite. It's the loss of those feelings that are going to allow us to fully experience life. It is one of the most widespread general effects from all of this, and we're not realizing it. Paralysis and laziness, it's evil. It's horrible. But there is another way, folks. The first thing is you have to take a commitment. You have to make that commitment to yourself. You have to make a commitment to go within you and not around. And that's what we love to do. We're so good at going around our own feelings. That's how we're so good at projecting it out there. But if you make a commitment to understanding that, hey, guess what? Newsflash, you matter. You make that commitment to yourself, and I'm telling you, there's going to be a whole brand new world of possibilities out there, folks. Listen, just take 5 minutes. That's all it is. 5 minutes. Till next time, guys. Thanks so much for joining me on The Daily Dream. Many blessings to you and sweet dreams.